What's going on YouTube? It's Teej back again with another video, and today we continue our 2021 NFL season preview series. We're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Really fun team to look at, and I got a couple players that I'm really fond of that we'll talk about in our X Factors, but hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, please hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want more sports content in your life, please consider subscribing and comment down below. Give me your Jacksonville Jaguars takes. Is this a good win range? What should their goal be? Some X Factors, some games you're looking forward to seeing them play. I'd love to hear it. I respond to every comment down in the comment section. Without further ado, let's start talking about this team. 4 to 8 wins for their win range, so you're looking at a team that could, 4 wins, picking top 8 probably in next year's NFL draft, maybe even higher, all the way up to 8 wins. Like, I could see this team flirting with being around 500. They're kind of in that same window as the New York Jets, right? Like, how quick of an impact and how big of an impact can these rookie quarterbacks make for the Jets, Zach Wilson, for Jacksonville, it's Trevor Lawrence, and then how quickly can the coaches acclimate to being an NFL head coach? Robert Saleh, obviously, defensive coordinator in San Francisco, now getting his first head coaching chance. And Urban Meyer's been a head coach, but it's been at a very high level, done at the college level. But he had a lot of success, so that's got to count for something. Now he gets the chance to do it at the NFL level. And I think ideally he could be a good guy to lead this program moving forward. It's kind of a culture build. He has been very hands-on and maybe more involved than I would have liked to see, because he's also made some good, coaching hires, right? Joe Culley coming from the Ravens system to be the DC, and I like Darrell Bevel as a good offensive mind to be the OC. Good pieces in place. So we'll see how hands-on Urban Meyer is. If he's just the culture, tone setter type of dude, I think he could do a fantastic job. But if he starts taking away responsibilities from other people just because that's kind of what he did at the college level, that might not translate to as much success. But we'll see. Obviously, time will tell. But 4 to 8 wins, I have them at 4 in that way too early 2021 season preview. So I am admittedly so saying I am low on them. I think they win more than 4 games. I do not knock the notion that some people have them at 7 to 8 wins. I don't doubt it. Sometimes when you do those too early season preview vids and stuff like that, hard to find matchups. I've said this about the Colts, I've said it about the Jets. I have their win total, too low compared to where I actually think this team is at. If you were truthfully just asking, I didn't make a prediction video, I'd probably say 5 to 7 wins. But I had them at 4. Tough to find matchups. I really like them, and some of it's because first time NFL head coach, rookie quarterback, a lot of pieces coming in and out through free agency. That can create a situation where it takes more than just a year to get this team in the playoff hunt. Which there's people who and I don't hate it, have them flirting with the idea of getting into the playoffs and betting they're over for their win total, and there's a good prop out there betting them to make the playoffs. This is a lot of talent on this team, but I just think it takes about another year before they're in that playoff hunt, and then 2 years before they could really start competing for potentially winning the division against Tennessee, in my opinion, and maybe the Colts if Carson Wentz really pans out for Indy. But moving on to the goals here, being competitive, it's something I've said about the Jets as well. This team probably won't win more games than they lose, but if they lose games, single score, single digits, however you want to look at it, if they can keep games close and fight till the end, that's a step in the right direction, considering this team at 115 last year, and by the end of the year, they just the energy wasn't there, right? Like, you could see it on players' faces. The culture wasn't being built, and you hope that's why you bring in Urban Meyer. You hope he can turn that around. And I kind of use the analogy with the Jets video. Joe Judge, when he got hired by the Giants, even though they were losing games, they fought and they kept it close. And you could just start seeing that progress. And that's kind of, I think, a good realistic goal for Jacksonville to have here. And then a reach goal. Hey, maybe this team does finish over 500. Right? If Trevor Lawrence makes an immediate impact, they have a good running back duo with Robinson, Etienne complementing each other really well. Maybe DJ Chark gets back to where he was a couple of years ago. Laviska Shenault fills in a lot of different spots. Marvin Jones has a year like he did last year, and the defense takes a step forward. We'll talk about one of those guys I'm really looking forward to watching on that defensive side here in a little bit. He's on your screen. This team could, there's a pathway to where they could be 9 and 8 and be over 500. So it's not outrageous. I just don't think it's overly likely, but there is a lot of talent on this team, and that leads us into our X Factors. I thought about putting DJ Chark instead of Laviska Shenault here, but ultimately I decided to go with Shenault because I think the ceiling might be a little bit higher. Chark a couple years ago filled up the stat sheet when there was no one else who really could get those numbers, so it's got to go to someone. And him and Gardner Minshew had a good rapport, at least in that season. And then now, obviously, a new quarterback coming into the mix, and that could change the dynamic of who really is the one. And Laviska Shenault in 2020 NFL Draft was my number 5 receiver behind Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, Jefferson, who I guess we were all kind of wrong. Jefferson probably should have been 1. And then I had Shenault there at 5. I just liked his balanced skill set, right? This guy can win underneath. You can get him the ball in space. He can live with the sticks, but he could also be an X and win down the field. I just love his ability to do everything. And you could also line him up in the backfield. I know ETN's probably going to take that role now for Urban Meyer, but that's a spot where I think Laviska Shenault could thrive too. So if this offense could totally maximize and utilize every skill set that Shenault brings to the field, he could be by far the most explosive player on that offense. And I don't even think that's really a crazy thing to say. I know DJ Chark can moss people and he could come down and be big in the red zone and all that, but if they can maximize what they get out of Shenault, he could be a huge second-year wide receiver breakout guy. And he was one of those among many, right? Like Brandon Ayuk could make that jump. Michael Pittman Jr. could do it as well. But I think Shenault really has a nice opportunity to take that leap forward. It just comes down to how Darrell Bevell, how Urban Meyer want to use him. Are they just going to put him in one role and that's it? Or they're going to try to use and maximize all the things he can do on the football field? Second X factor, Jawaan Taylor. This guy's given up a lot of sacks. I actually really liked him coming out of Florida. He felt like a really polished tackle, so seeing his struggles, especially under Doug Marrone, who made his way up into a head coaching position after being an offensive line coach, like it felt like Taylor was going to the right spot to continue to improve and get better and become maybe a plus level all-pro maybe tackle, but it just has not panned out. But now a new coaching staff, new offensive philosophy, and sometimes you'll see teams change up their blocking schemes and how they want to run the offense, and that pays dividends for the offensive lineman as much as it would for a running back with a changed in zone running versus whatever they might want to switch it to. So I'm hoping that's the case here with Jawaan Taylor, because the talent's there. Like, he looks like, and the build is too, he looks like an NFL tackle, and I've seen him play quality football. Granted, I was at college, but I don't think it's illogical or impossible for him to take that step forward and become a good, solid right tackle for this team. And hey, if he really shines this year, Cam Robinson, obviously he's on the franchise tag, maybe Taylor balls out and he proves that he could be the left tackle of future. Ideally, if a team's going to go into an offseason, I have a rule of thumb: if you don't want to replace more than just one starter, and that's where you get into a situation where like Pittsburgh is this year, where they're trying to plug and fill in a ton of different gaps, or Las Vegas, the Raiders, where you're trying to fill in so many gaps, you don't know if that team really got better at that unit. So if Cam Robinson's on his way out, you'd like to see Jawaan Taylor solidify a spot somewhere on the offensive line. So this is a huge year for him. Thus why he's an X factor. And last but not least, the man on your screen, K'Lavon Chaisson. I loved this guy's potential coming out of LSU. He is a freak athlete, super twitchy, explosive as it gets. And last year in that 4-3 defense, it just didn't come together. Kind of had him on the line, hand in the dirt. Also saw him playing out in space. And actually, there were a couple times where he picked up running backs out in space, and he held his own, which is crazy considering this guy coming out of LSU was just like a pass rusher. So I think with this team moving to more 3-4, granted, every defensive coordinator says this, but Joe Kelly has said, we want to be multiple. We're going to have a hybrid set. You're going to see 3-4, 4-3. I think overall, if it's copying that of the Baltimore Ravens, you will see a lot of different fronts, but a 3-4 really fits K'Lavon Chaisson well, as does Josh Allen. And if you have those two guys with the ability to drop into space, but also rush the passer at those outside linebacker positions, that's a really nice, formidable duo. And Allen's already, in my opinion, a superstar in the making. Like, I am really high on Josh Allen. I think K'Lavon Chaisson could be right there with him. I really do. And if you have Allen on the opposite side, kind of like how TJ Watt benefited from having Bud Dupree and Dupree benefited from having Watt, that dyad could really come to fruition in Jacksonville as well with Allen and Chaisson. So I love the new defensive scheme. I hope that Chaisson's playing that rush outside linebacker spot, because I think he could thrive. And obviously year 2, ideally he's a better football player. He understands the game. He's more acclimated with the speed it plays with. And also a change in coaching staff can do so much for maximizing players' potential. So I'm really hoping that's the case with K'Lavon Chaisson. Last thing we'll talk about, games to watch. And a good mix of games here. Week 4 on the road, but taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a game that I think that Jacksonville can win. These are two teams that are probably, bottom third of the league. It is tough to go on the road, but then it's also a fun matchup with Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, back-to-back #1 overall picks in consecutive NFL drafts. That's a lot of fun, and it's a game that really could turn into a shootout. Like, I think the Jags have some pieces on defense. I really like what they did with the secondary. I think Tyson Campbell's going to kind of move to that nickel, big body nickel. Intriguing idea, but CJ Henderson's good. Shaquille Griffin's a solid guy. Paid him a lot of money. But that game overall really could turn out into an offensive slugfest. And if it is, that's obviously a lot of fun to watch. Week 12 against Atlanta. Again, probably a team that's in the bottom third of most people's power rankings of how they would rank the teams. So a game you can win, plus you're at home. And also, again, how does that defense shape up against a team that's going to put up points, right? Like Matt Ryan's going to throw for a lot of yards. Calvin Ridley is a big play machine. Kyle Pitts, how do you match up with that type of versatile offensive weapon? So good test there for the defense more than anything. And can the offense keep up as well? In Week 17 at New England, if this team has a chance to make the playoffs, this is a game they're going to have to win. I don't think they're there yet, but this is a good barometer of where were you at the beginning of the year and where were you now. And plus, if they win this game in Foxborough, this will be a game that you hear all the next offseason. Okay, the pieces are in place. Jacksonville, this is a team that's going to be sneaky next year. You could start to see the young core developing. Look at that Week 17 game. They went into Foxborough and won. I could already hear ESPN, Foxborough. I can hear it all from here. So that's a game that if they come away with a big road win there, that's going to really start turning heads and grab people's eyes, which I think this team already has some good attention coming their way, but a lot of it's, Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer, Travis Etienne's a wide receiver. What's that about? If they win in Foxborough, it goes to, okay, pieces are together. Things are coming to fruition. The Jags are on the rise. Watch out. They could eventually become the best team in the AFC South. Those are my games to watch, and that's been my 2021 season preview for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Comment your thoughts down below on my takes, but also what you would put on everything on your screen. Let me hear some X Factors, games to watch, how many wins you think they come away with. I'd love to have your opinion. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want more sports content in your life, please consider subscribing. But that is going to do it for the video. Hopefully you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.